Hey y'all, welcome to the Anomalous Podcast, where we have conversations around the nuances of living a life with God as our guide. If you're in the process of evolving or transforming and are just looking for some practical help with the process, then you're in the right place. We're all trying to figure it out. I am your host, Tia McGee, and I am so excited that you are joining me here today. Today, I want to have a quick conversation around building our relationship with God or strengthening our relationship with God. Before we hop into that, though, I have to take a second just to shout out this hoodie out. I know I'm a low-key, high-key fashion girl, and I love me a nice quality hoodie, nice little simple fly look. Shout out, and I'm going to move my little mic to the side so y'all can see it real good. It's redeemed. Listen, even look at that. Look at the color green. It's just fire. The weight, it's heavy, nice, beautiful quality. The fit of it sits in the perfect spot. Y'all know I'm 6'2", so I'm pretty long. Fits perfect. Shout out to Lost Faith, which is a Christian streetwear apparel brand, for sponsoring today's podcast. Now that we got that out the way, let's jump into it. I wanted to have a conversation about this for many reasons. But one, I've found over the years that so many of us have a question about how to build or strengthen our relationship with God, but we don't quite know the questions to ask, or we are intimidated by asking, or we're just confused in general. Most of the time, we just stay away from it. I found for me personally over the years, as I've grown and strengthened my relationship with God and began to share more of my sentiment about my relationship with God and my life and how I live my life and those type of things, I've found that people have gravitated towards me or felt comfortable enough to ask those sort of questions, like questions about how do you do that? What does that look like? Like that's something that I desire, but I don't quite know how to achieve that myself. I feel off, and even when I try, I just don't feel right. Those type of things. And just a few weeks ago, I had one of these conversations with one of my clients, and that's just kind of where the conversation led us. And so I was thinking, actually, let's go ahead and just have a conversation about it on the podcast. Today, I want to offer up not a checklist or to-do list or a perfect 5 a.m. morning routine, ritual type of situation. That's not what this is. I want to give you 3 just thought pieces, right? Things to think around and to really sit with and figure out what you want to do with, but they can be really helpful in terms of mindset, right? Which is where it all starts. A lot of it has to do with the way that we see God and the way that we see spirituality or building a relationship with Him. And then from there, you can start to create your own plan, which I feel like is really important for us as Christians. The first thought piece that I want to invite you into is I want you to really think about building your relationship with God the way that you build your relationship with humans in real life. And so I know that sounds like really simple, but at the same time, I think that is one of the simple principles that we just like overlook, right? So think about how you build your relationships in real life with your siblings, with your parents, with your boo. How do you build a relationship, right? And so when you're meeting someone or getting to know someone or, something of that sort, it takes time, right? You spend time with them, you ask questions, you talk to them, you listen, you gift, you receive, you share pieces of you get vulnerable, and then you get a little bit more vulnerable, and then they start to share things with you, and next thing y'all know, y'all sharing secrets, and you go and do things that they like, that you see them in their element, and you invite them into spaces that are your element, and it's this constant give and take type of situation, right? Where you're intentional about listening and paying attention, figuring out what they like, what they don't like, how they like to be loved, and et cetera, right? And it's the same thing with God. And so we want to strengthen our relationship with God so many times, but we don't want to spend time with Him, right? We don't want to sit and listen, right? We just want to ask, but not create the space to receive. Or just even when it comes to reading the Bible, right? And this is something that I'm still continuously working on, but a few years ago just kind of got over the hump about reading the Bible really helps me to get to know God more. It gets me to know how He feels about certain things, right? It helps me to get more familiar with His voice. It helps in these different ways, and really think about how you build your relationships in real life and then translate that into building a relationship with God. And even to that piece, right, it's really important to assess how it is that you look at God. Because to me, He's my Lord, right? So He's the Lord of my life, right? He's my Savior, But then he's also my father. He's also my friend. He's my protector. He's all of these different things for me. When you see him as your friend and you see him as your father, then you go to him more like a father and you go to him more like a friend. But if you just see him as God, as just like this thing in the sky, then thinking about how to build a relationship with him is going to be crazy. What do we do here? You know what I'm saying? Even reassess the way that you look at him. What is he to you? And then from there, open yourself up, right? If you have a limited view of who he is to you or what he could be to you, right? Then just open yourself up to more. Second thing that I want to invite you into is assessing whether you're working from love or for love. This is really important, again, in our just real life relationships. But when it comes to God, right, sometimes it can really feel like work, like building the relationship with God. And I mean, relationships are work, right? But sometimes it can start to feel like this obligation. It can start to feel really tense, and it could just feel not good. You know what I'm saying? And there have been times in my life or seasons in my life where I've had to take a second and just breathe and reassess, where are we at right now? Because even though I was doing all the right things and I was spending the time and I was praying and I was writing and I was reading and all these different things, it was a lot of tension and it was a lot of pressure and it was even some angst around it. And I had to step back and realize that I was working for love in some of those moments. Not that I wasn't working from love as well, but there was a lot of working for love. And so it was this fear element of I gotta do all the right things or else God is going to lift his protection off of me, or he may maybe I won't have his favor anymore. Or maybe things will just start to go crazy psycho, or maybe, you know what I'm saying? And there was this fear element that was really running my decisions and really running how I was showing up. And don't get me wrong, a healthy amount of fear, that's perfectly fine, right? We need a little bit of that, especially when it comes to God. But at the end of the day, it's we don't want to show up to our time with God in an anxious place. Right? From a place of fear, from a place of those type of things. So really assess, are you working for love or from love? Because when you're working from love, right, then that time feels different. It doesn't feel like an obligation, right? You look forward to the time. You get creative about how you want to spend time. Your view on it is just completely different. It goes from an obligation again to something that you are looking forward to, something that you know can and does improve your life. And when it comes to working from love, right, one way to get us to that place is to get in a posture of gratitude and spend time reflecting. And so when I take the time daily or weekly or whenever, right, to just reflect on who God has been to me, how he's came through, how he's looked out for me, how he's protected me, how he's given me the cheat code, how he opened doors that people, you know what I'm saying? We're how did that even happen for you? When I reflect on all the different times and the many miracles that I could have counted as nothing, but I knew, you know what I'm saying? I know that was God showing up for me. When I reflect on all the times, right, that the bill just got paid, that what could have and should have happened to me didn't happen. When I reflect on those things, then I start to feel a real intense, genuine gratitude within me. And then I start to operate from love. Now it's you love me. I'm reflecting on all the ways you love me. You show up for me just like we do in real life. We want to reciprocate that when we have people that show up for us, that love us, that do those things. We then want to pour out. We then want to spend more time with them. We then want to prioritize our time with them, right? And so spend a little bit of time reflecting, right? And it'll help you to operate from a place of love. And then the last little piece is to find you a resource, find you some resources, right, that can teach you, that can help you to understand, that can help you to comprehend, that can help you to kind of structure and build out this life with God, right? For me, I have a few what I call distant mentors, right? I love me some Darius Daniels. I love me some Sarah Jakes Roberts, Stephanie E.K. Okafor. Dang, I always mess up her name. She just got married. But I have some distant mentors that those are my go-tos, right? And then there's a few other around that, right? I have my main church and pastor and things like that. But I have my main resources or people, distant mentors that I like to go to, right? And then I have friends, select friends that I have these really intense conversations with, or even just can't overlook like resources in terms of just like Bible translations, right? And that one for me, like some years ago, was a game changer. Because growing up, my grandma had like this King James version, and I was trying to read it, and I was so intimidated. I was just like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to understand this. I have no idea what's going on. I feel God pulling on my heartstrings. I'm trying to figure out how to do this like thing, but none of this makes sense. And then I was so late to the party, but it wasn't until some years later that I was gifted a Bible that I could actually understand. And I started learning about different translations. You got the Message, which is like layman's terms. It's like us talking right now. You got your NLTs, your NIVs, and all kind of stuff. But anyways, find you some resources that help teach you, right? That help you to grow your relationship, help you to understand, right? So many of us at times think about church as like this checklist to do, right? But going to church is like going to school. It teaches me so much. It teaches me so much. It's like, just take some time and think about or come up with like a short list of resources that you can just start to dabble into or just connect with once a week or once. You just kind of figure out your own flow. That's what I'm trying to say, y'all. Just get you a short list of resources and start to connect with them. And maybe it's a trial and error thing, right? Maybe the first round, it's like, but maybe that resource leads you to another resource, So find you some resources to connect to help to grow you. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, I just wanted to keep this short. I hope this was helpful, y'all. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or would like for me to dive a little bit deeper into any of these, I would love to. Make sure you leave me a comment. You like, subscribe, hit the notifications button too, so you don't miss any of the good information. But for real, y'all, send me a DM on Instagram, right? Or leave me a comment. Let me know which one of these tips that you found helpful or interesting or you anticipate trying, or even share any thoughts, right? In terms of any questions that you have around building a relationship with God or kind of what it's been like for you. Or even if you have some suggestions, some additional suggestions of things that you would like to add to this list that would be helpful for anybody else listening or reading the comments. Please do share. Sharing is caring. Anyways, y'all, I love y'all. Until next time.